Hello everyone, it is Mr. Falcon Punch 9000! And I review because that's what I do. And today's review is going to be a manga review. And the manga I will be reviewing will be none other than Blaster Knuckle. So without further ado, let's begin this review.
Blaster Knuckle is a badass action historical supernatural horror series created by Wazaria Suzuya and was serialized on Young Animal magazine on 1992 and finished with 3 volumes. Blaster Knuckle is basically what you get when you mix Berserk and Django Unchained together. However, a more detailed way to explain the story of Blaster Knuckle is that this series takes place in the 1880s of America! Fuck yeah! And follows the story of Black Cowboy Guts. I mean Victor Freeman. And Victor Freeman is a wanted badass with some serious boxing skills. Victor is a wanted man because he is believed to be a crazed murderer who has killed many people in cold blood. However, what many people don't see is that the people Victor kills aren't exactly human, since they're actually vicious shape-shifting man-eating monsters similar to Yomas from Claymore. And Victor takes it upon himself to kill these monsters for what they did to his father, as well as what they do to his people. Armed only with his amazing skills as a boxer, his trusty shotgun, and of course his signature weapon, the Blaster Knuckle. And not only must Victor face against man-eating monsters, but he must also go against the KKK and loads of skilled bounty hunters after his head. And with that, we have the story of Blaster Knuckle. The story of Blaster Knuckle is pretty short, but hey, what can you expect from a series that's only 3 volumes long? However, within its short length, Blaster Knuckle delivers a lot of badass action and bloodshed that should make any action and seinen fan pleased. I also like the setting of the series, since it's not really often where you get to see a manga series that takes place in America and really give you that awesome western vibe, which is really hard to find in almost any form of entertainment these days, which also had me questioning why this series never got licensed, because this is a series that was clearly meant for a western audience, but the license for this series is just not there. But with all that being said, the story of the series really isn't its strongest aspect, since really the story pretty much lacks anything to make it special or memorable, and most of the memorable parts of this series are just because of Victor Freeman being a total badass and him beating the crap out of bounty hunters and monsters. But that's pretty much all you're going to remember from this series, since the story overall is pretty bare bones. Also, the ending of the series really wasn't that good, since it sort of had that very open kind of ending, which I really hate, and it just really left you wanting a lot more. And it kind of sucks because this series had a lot of potential to last many more volumes, especially regarding some of the things that were revealed toward the end of the series, but sadly it kind of just got axed. Also, I can't go any farther in this review without mentioning that this series has many obvious similarities to Berserk, since they both have very similar art styles, and both series feature very awesome and badass protagonists with very dark pasts and live in a very harsh world with monsters. Not only that, you could basically argue that Victor Freeman is Black Guts, only instead of having a big ass sword, Victor has his trusty Blaster Knuckle. But these many similarities could be because both of the creators of these two series were once friends in high school and shared ideas with each other. When it comes to characters in Blaster Knuckle, there are only really 2 I need to talk about, and those 2 characters are Victor Freeman and Alex McGregor. Now, Victor Freeman I already sort of described in the beginning of this review, and there really isn't much to add beyond what I said about his character already, though it is great to see a character of a different race to be a main character in a manga series, and Victor overall is just super badass. While I have said this many times in this review, Victor Freeman is a freaking beast. He has amazing boxing skills that allow him to take on vicious monsters and armed bounty hunters with only his bare hands, and he is even able to dodge bullets at nearly point blank. But one of the things besides his amazing boxing skills that make Victor super memorable is his Blaster Knuckle, which is easily one of the coolest weapons I've ever seen in a manga series, since it's basically what you get when you combine a shotgun with a brass knuckle, and it delivers some of the most amazing yet gory punches you will ever see in a manga series. The next character I want to talk about in this review is Alex McGregor, a laid-back but badass bounty hunter hunting for Victor, who also has some ties with Victor's past. Like Victor, Alex is also awesome in kicking ass, as well as having many unique weapons of his own. Though since he is introduced a bit later on in this series, Alex sadly didn't get that much time to shine, which again kinda sucks because he seemed like he could have been fleshed out a lot more, and he made for a very good companion slash rival for Victor. But besides those two, there really isn't anyone else to talk about, since those two are probably the characters that get the most amount of screen time, since everyone else is either running away from the action or they're getting murdered by Victor and Alex. So yeah, the cast of characters overall is pretty weak, but the two main characters are pretty badass. The art in this series is also pretty good. While it does have a similar feel to Berserk, it is not as detailed or mind-blowing. But it still is pretty good since the action and bloody scenes are done pretty well, and seeing the Blaster Knuckle do its thing never gets old. Overall, Blaster Knuckle is an awesome joyride filled with badassery, bloodshed, and monsters that anyone wanting to read a fun seinen action series should check out, as well as any Berserk fan due to the many similarities. However, despite it being a fun series, the story overall is pretty weak, and it's not really the most memorable aspects about the series, and sadly, I'm one of those people that do believe an ending can make or break a series, and the ending for the series, well, was just too open. It was just totally unacceptable! Since there is so much this series could have done if it had a longer run, but sadly it never got the longer run. Which is why, both personally and critically, I am going to give Blaster Knuckle a 7 out of 10. It is a good series, however the ending and lack of memorable story sort of brought down the series for me. But it still is a good time that I highly recommend to check out if you haven't done so already. And before I end this review, allow me to bring you guys some recommendations for this series. And first off, we obviously got Berserk, because these two series are very similar. As I've said many times within this review, they have very similar art styles, very similar main characters, very similar worlds, and both are awesome, badass, and gory seinen action series I highly recommend anyone to check out. Another good series I could recommend for Blaster Knuckle would be Green Blood. While Green Blood is not a supernatural action series like Blaster Knuckle, they both do have very similar settings taking place in historical America in a time of corruption. And both series have an awesome western vibe with badass main characters and sadly a lack of an American release. Seriously, why haven't these two series been licensed yet?
It is time to wrap up this video. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as always, I am Mr. Falcon Punch 9000! Like, comment, subscribe to my main channel, Mr. Falcon Punch 996, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. Yeah, it looks like I Falcon Punch a little too hard right there. This blood is for you guys.